Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the Healthy Reset. Just give me a moment. Let's get some technical things. So, hi. Tonight we are expecting a speaker, Sally Gimon, that you saw in the postings, but she's not here yet. So, in the meantime, let's dive in to what is happening in the Healthy Reset. So we have a few quick announcements. We have a webinar tomorrow. Now, this webinar to the persons listening on YouTube or following this video on YouTube, it will be up. Another link to the webinar will be up after we do the webinar tomorrow, so you can always chime into that and watch the webinar. The webinar is about ultimate weight loss recipe. And we want to talk about what ultimate weight loss recipe is about and how you can join ultimate weight loss recipe. Maria, just jump on and speak.
At me?
Yeah, I saw you put your hand up. So
No, I was sorry.
okay, no worries. That being said, we have with us tonight myself, Dr. Z, and I am a medical doctor who specializes in sports and exercise medicine and in preventative medicine. So I try to help people to navigate the diseases like diabetes, hypertension, and to reduce, help you with weight loss and doing it in a sustainable manner. With us is Nurse Maria, who is our um, sexual health nurse, and she deals with women's sexual health and now specializes in menopause health and helping women transition through the menopause phase. All right, so Maria, say a few words.
I just want to welcome everyone. I'm just happy that you all are here and we are continuing what we are best at, which is educating and bringing individuals other than ourselves as well to help enhance and educate all our listeners. We want to thank you for coming, everyone, on such a regular basis.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you, Maria. So as you see, we're getting off to a late start. I'm still waiting to see if our speaker is coming. Sometimes it happens. We don't know what technical difficulties might be going on. So, but let's talk about something in the meantime. So tonight we were going to talk about, give me one sec. Let me just pull up my script. We're going to talk about how to get over challenges, especially menopause challenges, and created new possibilities. Right now, so on that track, I have something to present to you guys in terms of how to get past this to create those new possibilities for ourselves. So let's dive into that. Um, um, Me and Maria, well, you all know every weekend in Trinidad and Tobago, we go hiking up Mount St. Benedict. Sometimes we do St. Joseph Waterfalls, and every month we're planning to instill doing a more challenging or a different hike in different parts of Trinidad and Tobago. And if you can join us, we usually leave around 6:30 in the morning at Mount St. Benedict. We go to the top of the mountain. We go to just where the Pax House is, just below the church. And from there, we walk up. And it's not an overwhelming hike. There's 3 stages of it. The first stage is actually rather at, I would say, a level 2 maybe hike. It's got a nice little incline. And the second stage becomes a little bit more challenging. That would be a level 3. And the last stage, it goes up to a level 4, where it gets a little steeper and a little bit more of a challenge. So this weekend, me and Maria were tracking up the mountain, and Maria was mentioning, and I hope you don't mind me sharing this, Maria, about, the challenges she's facing at work and how, it doesn't feel that, she is getting the what she desires from her workplace, and she feels very distraught about it. And we were talking about how to empower ourselves to be more positive and develop a positive environment within ourselves that extends beyond to everything else. And for where I work in my hospital, I try to help our staff to create a healthy lifestyle by reducing burnout and stress. And by doing that, this leads to losing weight and becoming healthier overall. And today's session was interestingly about how to create breaks in your day and how to reduce procrastination, make yourself more productive. And let's talk about that a little bit. I hope you guys are with me on this. And this is important to menopause because one of the things I've learned over the last year of working with ladies like yourself and working with Maria about menopause. And honestly, before Maria tells me, she leads me all the time in what the menopause journey is. And and I've been learning from her, but I've been doing research and working with her through this, and I've learned a lot. And what I've learned, and since working with burnout, is that menopause is a form of burnout. It pushes your body to the limit, which is overwhelming stress over and over. So burnout is basically a repetition of constant stress that eventually leads to failure. And what do I mean by failure? In other words, you reach that point where you just feel you can't move forward, and it's interesting. Burnout, workplace burnout is physical, mental, and the psychological. So you have the depression, you have the lack of motivation, you don't have the energy, you have things like acid reflux and neck pains, and you have your blood pressure going up. And all of those things are just like menopause. During your menopause change, you have the physical, which can be, putting on weight, and being susceptible to diabetes, hypertension, and then there's emotional, where's there's the lack of the brain fog, the fatigue, that overwhelming feel that you're not doing enough, that you're not good enough, and then there's a psychological, which is the depression, right? All of those things are much, and anxiety and all those things are much basically the same thing as burnout. So let's talk about then how can we reduce this overwhelming stress of menopause, right? And you're gonna go through it. Menopause is a natural process, and I must say, Maria will agree with me with this. All women go through it, right? This is a natural process of a natural change from the reproductive to the non-reproductive years. And for that reason, all women go through it. All biological women go through it. So then how then um, do we navigate this overwhelming burnout? And one of the things I'd like to introduce to all you who are here is taking breaks and why breaks are necessary. So for all those joining us a little bit late, we are still waiting on our speaker. I hope she has the correct link, but we don't know if she's having some technical difficulties. If she doesn't come on this evening, we will have her again at a later date once she agrees to this. Okay. So joining us. So in the meantime, let's talk about how do we create breaks, right? So has anybody here ever heard of the Pomodoro principle? Put a thumbs up if you have. Thumbs down if you haven't. I have a very quiet group this evening. So the Pomodoro principle basically says, do tasks for 25 minutes and take a 5-minute break. Now, I know some of you thinking, this sounds crazy. How can I do a task for 25 minutes? I have so much to do. And if I take a break, then I'm wasting time and I'm not getting stuff done. But here's the thing. If you ever looked, see, Mala tells me it's a thumb down. I don't know if it's to taking breaks or to the Pomodoro. Right? But if you look at a bicycle, right? A bicycle has basically the gears at the back of it. And I'll show you what that looks like. Give me a sec. Let me just pull up a quick picture. Share my screen. So a bicycle has gears in it. I know we have a little brakes going on in between here, but brakes are good as we were talking about brakes tonight. All right, let me share my screen real quick and I'll show you what a cycling gear. I know most of you have seen this before, but if you're from the modern ages, and I grew up in Guyana, so we were accustomed being on bicycles all the time. So so it's quite common for us to be always fixing our own bicycles and so on. But let me share my screen if I could find where the share screen is. There it is. All right. So this is your bicycle gears. Right? I know everybody's seen that. As you can tell, the back here, it comes with a whole bunch of spikes. These are the spokes coming out. It has the front ones. It has the same thing. And there's a chain going over it. So now you notice that this is made of extremely hard steel. This is really difficult to break. And if you ever seen somebody get in an accident, these things don't even bend, right? So they're extremely hard and they last for many, many, many years. Now, think about that bicycle gear. If you are riding a bicycle and you stay on the same gear for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, what eventually happens? As you ride and ride and ride the same gear, those spokes start to wear down. They start to wear down. And then 30 years down the line, you jump on your bicycle and you realize you're pedaling, and all you're seeing is the chain is moving, but the bicycle is going nowhere. What has happened? You've basically worn down that gear of all of its teeth, right? So now being on the same gear, you've caused that, the bicycle becomes useless. So then what do? We have to shift gears. So if you're constantly shifting gears, you realize you don't wear down your gears as often. Now, let's go back to that bicycle analogy. You're riding your bicycle and you you're going fast. You're going all out, right? And you're getting tired. What do? You shift down to a different gear to slow down to give yourself a chance to breathe. You're taking a break, right? So using an analogy of how you go really fast at times and then you have to slow down on your bicycle, otherwise you're going to run out of breath and you're going to have to stop. But you don't want to stop. You want to keep moving, right? You want to keep that exercise going. So you slow down to give yourself a breather and then you go at it again. Same thing is happening with your daily lives. If you're constantly pushing and you're constantly in that same gear, that gear is in your brain. What are you doing? You're wearing down that gear, and eventually that chain is going to start spinning and you're going to be moving nowhere. Now, I don't know if any of you have ever been there. I've ever been in that position, but I have, where you're spinning like crazy and you are moving nowhere. I went through it a few years ago, just after just after the pandemic started, where I was so severely burnt out, I wasn't even thinking straight anymore, and everything I did seemed to go nowhere. And I had to take a year off just to get recovered before I can go back and become my full creative self and get back to the work that I loved doing. So I really have enjoyment doing this kind of work and helping people heal. And I wasn't getting the opportunity to heal anywhere. For many years working in the emergency department, I was in those stages. There was times when my boss would come up to me and they would say, "You're working, we know you're here, but you're really not here. You're not involved, you're not engaging." Right. And then I go on vacation, I come back and I'm engaging for the first few months, and then suddenly it stops again. I go back to being burnt out. So why? I wasn't shifting my gears. I wasn't allowing myself to take breaks and recover. And honestly, that little vacation time you take for 2 to 3 weeks isn't always enough. In fact, how many of you have gone on vacation and the first thing you do for the first 3 days is sleep? Or you just sit on the couch and you're so tired and so catatonic that you can't even lift a finger to change the channel. You're happy for Netflix because it goes to the next movie and you're happy for that 5 second to go, and you don't even want to press the button to go next. You just let it get rolled. How many of you have been there? If you have, give me a thumbs up. I know I have, right? So what is your body doing? Your body is basically taking back the break, right? So for every time you don't do that, your body takes back the time. And the honest truth is that your body needs 44% rest, right? 44%. Everybody thinks it's 20 or 30%. No, 44% rest to operate at is optimal. So if you're not taking breaks, you're doing your body a disservice. And when you go on those vacations, you don't enjoy the vacation as much because you're so tired. Your body takes it back. Another example of this, you ever did an all-nighter where you're writing a paper or you're doing some big project for school or for work and you push hard, 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 and the minute the project is over and you submit it, you get sick, and for 24 hours, you're down, you have a fever, you have a cold, it feels like you have a sore throat, and you feel completely out of it. And then 24 hours later, you come up and you're like, oh, I'm back to normal, I'm good. There's no such thing as a 24-hour cold. Here's the first thing. There is no such thing as a 24-hour cold. Any cold that you get lasts for a few days, right? What is going on there is your body is taking back the rest it needs. So that means over time, you need to add rest into your day. And this is where the Pomodoro principle comes in of 25 minutes and take a 5-minute break. Now, I use this regularly and I find it to be extremely productive when I want to get stuff done. Why? Here's another example why this principle works. When you look at the roulette wheels, the ones with the handle you pull down in casinos, why those are so effective? It's not just because of the bright lights and this noise that it makes and the payouts that people think they get. It's a spinning wheel. And when that spinning wheel goes into that, the anticipation of what comes next, the possibilities of what could happen, excites the person and they keep pulling the lever to get more. Social media has the same principle. That's why you scroll up or you scroll left, right? Because the anticipation of what comes next is what makes it exciting to scroll. And then you watch the videos for the 2 minutes and you want more. So you go for another one. You get a little dopamine hit. You get a little dopamine hit. And you keep scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. And that constant scrolling is what keeps you on social media. And they know this because they've seen it done in casinos. So they keep repeating that process. And that's why social media sucks you in. Suddenly you spend 2-3 hours and you haven't done any work and you go, oh my goodness, I've just wasted a bunch of time. And then you feel horrible. Now, thumbs up if that has ever happened to you. I know it's happened to me several times. In fact, I work really hard and it's not happening to me anymore. So, yes, Maria, have a question? Maria, just jump in and ask your question.
Actually, I pressed the wrong thing. I was
Give me a thumbs up. All right, that's fine.
it
Cool.
meant to me a thumbs up. But
Well,
I just
that's fine.
wanted to
I like the engagement.
I just wanted to interject here, just a small experience,
Yes.
right? And to know that stress is really a real thing. And if we do not get it out of under control, it can get us really sick. And in some cases, it can even lead us to an early grave. Now, where I am working, I've noticed that anytime I take a break, I go on a holiday, I take a break for at least a month and more, my hair would grow. Normally, it grows normal, no problems. All the patches and all of that, it stops. And within that month, a month and a half, you wouldn't believe it's the same head of hair. From the time I get back on my job, even though I try to work on it, to talk to myself and say, all right, it's a job, it's this, I put in all the positivity. Within about next few weeks, my hair starts to drop again. Don't matter, it's like an ongoing process. And I know it is the stress of the job. It doesn't matter what I say or what I do, just being in an environment that you perceive to be very toxic, and it has, we say it doesn't matter, it doesn't sometimes when something really bothering us, it doesn't really bother us, but in your subconscious, it really does. And hence the reason why I like this topic tonight, because it we really need to know how to deal with stresses. We have different stresses in our lives, sometimes an unexpected death, which takes toll for years, right? Sometimes we're in a financial situation that we seem like we cannot come out of. It takes a toll, and that sometimes it seems like everything just coming down on us at the same time. So I think this topic is timely, ladies. What I suggest to that, we have problems, we do not keep it inside. It is the worst thing that you could do to yourself. Keeping things inside and have no one to share the problem with. That is why this community we have here is important. Go ahead, Miss
No,
Manzano.
it's,
Go
no,
ahead.
it's, I think she just muted herself.
Okay, so it is important that we at least talk to our husbands about this process that we are going through called menopause. Not every woman goes through it smoothly. My two sisters, they went through it, no problem. My mother, the same thing. Myself, stress, everything. I'm having all the symptoms, right? And anxiety seems to be one, depression seems to be one at a time. So it's good that we have each other here. And what I want to encourage other ladies to do, talk. You don't know if what you are saying can encourage or help somebody else. I know we are a quiet community, but sometimes just talking would make other people really understand what you are going through, and it can help somebody else overcome or help you overcome some situation. Ask questions, so we would know what topics as well that we can delve into in depth, and we could work on it together so that we can overcome together. So that is my point for tonight.
Excellent. And I'm glad you brought it up. How going to work, how you go on vacation and you come back and you go, oh, yes, I'm doing better because I'm no longer I was doing well and then come back and now I'm doing worse. So let's talk about that specifically. So I want to show you what I was show is the gambling wheels I was talking about before we continue. As I got loaded somewhere. All right, and share my screen. There we go. So this is what I was talking about, these wheels. All right, and you notice they're spinning and they have all the things that looks like a social media page if you look at it, right? Unknown numbers, unknown expectations, all of it. So sorry about that. So then let's talk about, when we talk about the Pomodoro principle and why it's important to take breaks throughout your day, not just on a monthly or yearly basis, but if you do this on a regular basis, you realize that when you go on vacation, you actually enjoy your vacation because you're not as tired. You've been taking care of yourself. So when we talk about the Pomodoro principle, we want to talk about the 25 minutes to 5 minutes. So here's how this works. We're going to use the same Russian roulette wheel. This creates that anticipation and that expectation of what's to come next. What am I? And as human beings, we like that little bit of an excitement. But unlike the dopamine high you get from these machines and from your social media, these are actually good highs. They are accomplishments. So you feel amazing for longer periods of time. And it makes you become more and more productive by doing these. So what it is, when you set the Pomodoro principle and you put a timer, let's put a clock on your table, take your phones on, set 25 minutes, and you start at 25 minutes, that creates an anticipation in you that I have to finish all this work in 25 minutes, or I have to finish this task in 25 minutes. And that anticipation of what to expect gets you motivated. And that gets you going. And when you finish it, the dopamine high, the expectation of the dopamine high you get at the end of it makes you feel amazing. Now, I'll give you an example of how I've used this, and I still use it all the time in my daily routines. Now, some days I'm feeling low, I probably don't get as much done, and some days I'm feeling very productive. When I first did my first master's degrees, I struggled. I really struggled to get through it. I wasn't doing as well as I thought I could. I was barely scoring above 50% in some of the courses. I graduated, yes, but it was with a C average. Now, this has been a story of my life since I was in college, right? Med school, college, all those things, always the same case, 50% average. When I did the second master's degree, I started to shift how I approached doing work, right? And I'm a master procrastinator. So that shift was a real push for me to get done. So what I did was in my second degree, when I took second master's, the first term, the first year and the first three-quarter of the first year, I was doing badly. I was struggling to get above 50%, barely making it. And then I decided to shift this and I started shifting it slowly. And what I started doing was entering a stage of flow, but I would build up to it. Right. And it was interesting. Instead of waiting, like most of the assignments were due Sunday evening, midnight. You had to get it in. Right. And instead of waiting until the weekend to start that assignment, I started it on Monday. But I didn't do any work on Monday. What did I do on Monday? I took out the assignment, I read through it, I see what was needed, and I let that ruminate in my brain, right? Tuesday, I go back and do the same thing. I do a little bit of research. All right, there's a topic. Let me run through some research. I pull up some papers. I read through a couple of those. Didn't write anything. Wednesday, repeated the same process. By the time Friday and Saturday came around, my brain had already started formulating a plan. Have you ever gone to bed with a problem in your brain and the next morning you've solved it? That's your subconscious working while you were asleep. I basically activated my subconscious by starting that prep. By the time Saturday reached, where I sit down and start writing, I realized I entered what is called a stage of flow. Athletes call it getting into the zone, where I would write for 3 to 4 hours and I would just finish that paper in 3 to 4 hours. And my grades went from a 50% average to at the end of the program, I graduated with a 75% average. That was a massive jump in just one change in my behavior. Now, when you see Usain Bolt, oh, Sally has joined us. When you see Usain Bolt and you see the work he does for that less than 10-second race. Hello, Sally. We were waiting on you. So we're just going to discussion on time on how to take breaks. So when Usain Bolt was running that 10-second race, he trains for 4 years to get into that stage of flow. So here's how the Pomodoro technique works. I want you to schedule 25 minutes, put a timer, and do any task for just 25 minutes. All right, that's okay, Sally, no problem. And take a 5-minute break. Get up, go grab something to drink, a glass of water, some tea, some coffee, stretch your legs, come back. Even when at work, when doing stuff at home, do the 25 minutes. If you worry that you won't find back where you are in that space, put a note in it. This is where I stopped. And start doing this. Just pick one day this week and try it for the entire day and see how you feel at the end of the day. Do you feel more productive? Here's a last story before we bring Sally on to give us a little rendition of what she does and how she can motivate us. Here's another analogy. There's two woodsmen in the bush cutting trees. One woodman is working all day. He doesn't take a break. He's going at it, he's going at it, he's going at it. The other one is taking breaks, right? Every time the one who's going at it, the other looks over, he looks at the other woodsman, he's sitting down, he's taking a break. At the end of the day, the one who's working all day looks over and sees this huge pile of wood by the guy who's taking breaks. So he gets angry. He walks over, storms over. He's like, how is it I'm working all day and you have a bigger pile of me than you've been taking breaks all day? He's really angry. He's like, I'm sure you had somebody working for you that I didn't see. Woodsman turns around and he says, the one who was taking breaks all day, he says, every time you saw me sit down, I was sharpening my axe. So I want to leave you with this. Taking breaks is your method of sharpening your axe, that is your brain, of getting your brain into a state of flow and allowing your brain to do the work it needs. If you don't do that, then you notice, and anybody who's worked for over an hour realize after a while, you're reading the same line over, you're doing the same task over, and you're not getting anywhere. That's your brain saying, I am tired, I need a break, right? But if you intentionally do this throughout the day, you realize your productivity increases by 100%. And suddenly you're getting more tasks done in less time, allowing you more time for yourself and everybody else around you. Now you can take care of those symptoms. And by putting a 25-minute timer, it means for a little while, you can push really hard and take a break. And even though you're feeling a little overwhelmed, you know you got a task done. Now you can relax and feel accomplished. And this is a very simple method to implement. Many entrepreneurs use this as the way to they become massively productive and billionaires. So that's a little bit on the Pomodoro principle. Now we have with us the wonderful Sally Gimon. She was having a little challenge finding the link for this, but that's fine. No problem, Sally. We're absolutely happy to have you. So let's introduce Sally. Sally, I'm Dr. Z, and with us we have Nurse Maria. Let me just pin you to the screen.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me. And I'm so sorry I was late because when I had my calendar, it was the wrong link. I'm so sorry about that.
No worries, no worries. I've realized that was my fault also. I didn't realize the Calendly was sending you the wrong link. So that's why I asked. That's why we sent you a bunch of emails to make sure you got the right one. So
I finally found it in my junk folder, but I do the Pomodoro method with my watch. So what you were just talking about was so true.
Yeah. See what I'll tell you. We talk about Pomodoro method and Sally comes and gives us a stamp of approval. So
well, what I deal with is I'm a real estate investor. Back in 2019, I was working full-time as a Medicare broker and I wholesaled 7 properties. Paid off $184,000 in debt. Fantastic. What I found out on April 4th of 2020, start of COVID, my tax rate went from 22% up to 24%. I only had $50,000 saved and I got a payment plan with the IRS. So I researched the Rockefeller Spendthrift Trust and now I help US business owners, entrepreneurs, franchisee owners, and 1099 income earners save at least 90% on their federal income taxes, no longer pay state income taxes. And then for investors, you will no longer pay short-term or long-term capital gains, interest income, dividend income, rental income, and royalty income taxes legally with the Spendthrift Trust. It's in IRS tax code 643B. If you'd like to find out more information, my free class is my name, www.sallygimon.com. And everyone should know this. You know, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you need to know how to save taxes.
that's an excellent topic, actually, because even today I was chatting with one of my friends, and one of the things he's thought of, and where most of this audience is in Trinidad and Tobago, well, many people in Trinidad and Tobago and the Caribbean are connected to the US and have a lot of family in the US. And a lot of them don't understand the IRS tax codes and how it can be detrimental. So as Sally is talking about that, for all those who have family or have connections to the US, the US tax collectors is the only collection agency that can reach into your bank account, take out all of your money, and don't tell you a word that they did it. And one day you open up your account and it's all gone. And they're the only collector who can do that. If you ever seen the movie Happiness with Will Smith, that's a good example of it really can happen. So,
and if I can interrupt for just a second, besides saving you taxes, it keeps your information private. And the third thing, all lawsuits, I don't know if you realize how litigious United States is, but all lawsuits become frivolous. So it saves you thousands of dollars from being sued or anything.
And on that note, what I was going to mention, what my friend told me today, Trinidad and Tobago has changed its tax terms. So from 2025, if you have a business or you've registered a business and you're not paying your annual taxes, there's going to be stiff penalties and they're coming hard after us. So I'm glad Sally
Wow.
came on and mentioned that because this is a big change that's happening right now in Trinidad and Tobago. And I know the IRS is a little different and your tax codes are a little different from Trinidad and Tobago because we use the colonial version, but they're all the same. They're the tax man and they're coming after you. So being prepared.
The interesting thing is this does come from England. Way back when King Henry VIII, that famous king who chopped off his wife's heads, he started the Church of England, and it's contract law. So hopefully you have something there. I just don't know what they have in Trinidad or anything like that.
They are very similar, but I would say for everybody here, if you don't understand this, go talk to your accountant, find somebody who does. It's very important. And I know, and honestly, just like how the US, the tax man can reach into your accounts and take your money. Same thing in Trinidad and Tobago. They can reach into your account and save your money, take your money. I know this because it happened to a few of my colleagues just recently within the last few years. They were working privately in private hospitals. The hospitals weren't paying taxes for them. They were required to pay their own to sort of their own tax things. They got letters from the IRD, we call the IRD in Trinidad, right? Saying that they owed sometimes up to $1 million in taxes, right? And they've been working there for years and some of them were crying because they had no idea what to do and they had to really get it sorted out fast. So this can hit you pretty hard. But we're talking about challenges. So let me introduce Sally a little bit. I know we dived into a little tangent there and we haven't given Maria to say a quick hello. So Maria.
Hi, Sally. We are very happy to have you at the White Rose community. And you have an audience tonight. We are we are just waiting for your knowledge and your know-it-all to help us through this aspect of our life, which is called menopause, and what tips you would have for us in terms of finances at this time of our lives. I know, and because we don't have that, we're not under the American system, but we would still like to know what we can get, how to benefit from this system that takes so much from us. So thank you for coming and welcome.
Thank you. I appreciate that very much.
So let me get into introducing who Sally is. So if you're feeling stuck in a menopause rut and you're not alone, it's not your fault, but it's also not where your story ends. Today, we have with us Sally Gimon, and she gave us a little introduction to herself, who is going to show you how to turn that frustration into fuel for the new chapter in your life. At 53, she faced some major life challenges, caring for her ill mom and a career that felt like it was going nowhere. But she didn't let that define her. Instead, she made a shift and transformed into a successful real estate investor and wealth strategist. Now she's here to share exactly how you can use change to overcome not just menopause challenges, but life challenges as a whole and find and create new possibilities. Get ready to feel inspired because this session is packed with real world strategies that can help you get unstuck and start thriving. Make sure you stay with us until the end, where Sally will reveal her top game-changing tips that help her turn it all around. So grab a cup of tea, settle in, and let's dive in to the power of possibility. Now, I want to quote one guy, Kioski. He wrote Rich Dad Poor Dad, and he once said that he could do real estate anywhere in the world. And a lot of people say, but I live here. How can I do the same real estate things that the US does or that Canada does? And he says, all I need to do is go and spend a little time in that country, understand the market, and I can turn my real estate investments into money that can be turned over. So all the stuff that Sally says here, when it comes to real estate or investing, honestly, it's just a little adjustment, and you can use this in Trinidad and Tobago and the rest of the Caribbean or wherever you are in the world. It just takes a little bit of effort, and you can see how this can be managed for you. So Sally, hopefully that was good enough introduction for you. Let's dive in. So what today is about.
Excellent. Well, I help different all kinds of businesses, from anybody who's making about $80,000 to be able to for the spendthrift trust. But it helps so many people because so many of my clients start their own charities to help because they're making so much money or saving so much money that, one of my people, a real estate investor who does what's called a BRRRR strategy, he's got a charity to help the people who are coming into the United States with nothing on their back but their clothes on their back, because his wife was a Vietnamese boat person who came to the United States 6 years old. Another of my clients, she has a beauty school and 2 salons in Los Angeles, making over $1 million. She's now working with gang members who are getting out of jail to teach them how to be hairdressers because she's desperate for hairdressers. She can't find enough people out there to do that.
Excellent. That's some awesome stories. So let's dive in then. And I know you joined a little late, and we usually run this show for about an hour so people can go get rest and so on. So we're going to go over a little bit, if everybody doesn't mind tonight. So Sally can share her strategies and give us some real good insights into how you can take this midlife change, which is menopause and shifting from in your careers or shifting into retirement, and turn it into a gold mine for what you do. So Sally, tell us a little bit about what you do in the real estate world and in investing world.
Well, originally I started off in my real estate group. My mentor was teaching us how to do bank-owned properties. When my mom got sick, she was from Arizona, but she got sick in North Carolina. I purposely bought a bank-owned property that was going to go to auction, and it got delayed because of COVID. But when it finally went to auction, I called and said, hey, nobody showed up for the auction. She goes, well, there's a thing called upset bids. Never heard of this before because it's just only to North Carolina. So I go to 5 counties in North Carolina. And when you have a tax lien or foreclosure, you have a window of 10 days, and either 10 business days or 10 calendar days. You have to know the difference. And you can go into the clerk of the court and pay $750 more. And now you've upset the bid. So I've wholesaled 28 properties through my trust. I have 3 seller financing properties where people cannot get their own financing, so they're paying me to be there, and then they own the house. I also have 12 notes, again, where I'm the paper on the house, and they're paying me the mortgage. Real estate's changed my life. I started at 53. I'm going to be honest. I went through menopause at 56. And it changed my life. I'm financially free, and now I'm helping my nieces pay off their student loans because they have, I hate to say it, dead-end jobs in the United States and a lot of student loan debt. And it's just amazing how I can help family and friends and everybody else with what I do.
So, as you mentioned earlier, now when you mentioned bank-owned properties, there is that in Trinidad. There's a lot of properties get foreclosed, and if you know who to talk to in the banks, you can actually get access to these bank-owned properties and actually bid in them. So this can be actually done in Trinidad too. But what I want to talk about is your transition during your change at 53 and then going through menopause. How did you deal with, now you're doing this new job, you have this new purpose in life, doing properties, and then suddenly, how was your menopause change, first of all? Was it one of those overwhelming changes, or were this minor symptoms and you were okay?
It was interesting because it was when everything was going on. My mom was on a ventilator for 13 months, in a hospital for 15 months. She came home, she got better, but when she passed away, my dad was super lonely. So I moved home to work with my dad. Being a real estate investor, you can do, my favorite thing is tax liens. You can do that anywhere in the world. And, I have insomnia. So when I can't sleep, I buy tax liens in Florida. I'm in North Carolina, and I buy Florida tax liens. You quoted Robert Kiyosaki. It's true. You can do real estate anywhere, and no matter what's happening. How I got into seller financing here in the United States, our interest rates went sky high all of a sudden in October of 2023. I had just won 2 upset bids, and I'm like, nobody would buy them from me because they couldn't get an inexpensive loan. So that's why I went to seller financing. I also do what's called subject to real estate, where I take over someone's loan, true story, in my county. not my county, in my zip code, there are 224 houses that are behind on their mortgage from way back when COVID happened. I have contacted all 224 people to say I can help, I have solutions for them. One of the homes, he got transferred to Houston and had to sell his house very quickly. 2 kids, 2 dogs, the house smelled of dog. He couldn't sell on the open market. So I took over the loan from him, paid back his 48 months that he was behind when we sold the house, put it on the market for $100,000 less than the other houses in the market, did an open house, invited all the neighbors up and down the street because they were appalled that this house was going to be $100,000 less than all the other houses, but there had to be work done. I mean, it smelled, the dogs had peed on the carpet. We sold the house, paid off his mortgage, paid off his loan. I gave them $50,000, and I'm going to be honest, I made almost $90,000 on the deal, just one weekend of doing work, and it was an amazing deal.
That's a fascinating deal, and I'm sure in Trinidad and Tobago, a lot in the Caribbean, a lot of people are thinking, how can I do that here? And it can be. It's just the same principles apply here. A bank has like a foreclosed house, or you have somebody's back up on a mortgage. Once you find out who they are, you can strike a deal with them. And because that person can come out to the other end with probably a cheaper property or an ability to, to recover a little bit, that can be done and that can be brokered. And it can be done between the 2 individuals and potentially a lawyer, and that's it. And then you're heading down the road of, generating income for yourself.
Exactly. There's we call it arbitrage here, where you take over someone's loan. I personally, I'm a lazy investor. I don't do it. Of mine does arbitrage and turns the houses into Airbnbs, and he never owns a house. The person who owns a house still keeps the mortgage, it's all in their name, but they make a deal. Like he pays their mortgage, but he makes more money on doing the Airbnb. And I shouldn't talk about the football team here. It's not a very good football team, but he purposely has houses near the stadium because we had an away game, we had a home game here, and all the fans who come in to see the football game, he rented out his houses, $500 a night. The mortgage on the house is only $900, so he only has to rent it 2 nights, and he's in profits. It's a very interesting way of doing things, and I think anyone can do it anywhere in the world. I don't know the local laws, but again, if it's between a homeowner and an investor, it's an agreement between the 2 of them. Other people don't have to be involved. I mean, here in North Carolina, we do have to use an attorney at all times.
And that's a fascinating theory. That's a fascinating strategy. I don't know if anybody else here got excited about that, but think about it. In Trinidad and Tobago, right now we have cricket going on, and there's a massive tournament going on called CPL. It's played up and down the Caribbean, and it's played in Trinidad and Guyana, Barbados, St. Lucia. And guess what? All of those places have houses near the stadiums. Imagine turning your house into Airbnb during these events and making a fair amount of money while people flying in and just renting your house instead of staying in a hotel. And you can go stay at family if you have your own house, or if you're into this area of real estate and you're thinking, what can I use my real estate for? Hey, if it's right next to the stadium or it's close by to getting there, put it on there and see if anybody wants to take a house. And I can tell you, with me and my friends who travel, we always try to go rent like places that have kitchens that are all well stocked and easy to access, than going to stay in a hotel somewhere, because we like having the freedom of making our own meals, getting into in and out of our house whenever we want to, and enjoying a good time without having the hotel experience or anything like that. So that's a fascinating strategy. That's coming. I really got excited for that one.
The other thing you can do, because you're having cricket there, people are flying in from all over the world. This is a little bit more tricky, but you can rent your car out to people who need a car. Maybe they just need it for a few hours on one day and make money that way. There's so many ways to make money when things are happening. It's one of my favorite books. I don't know if you all have heard of this, but The Science of Getting Rich by Waddle. I forgot his last name. but he talks about it. Just look at a problem differently and find a solution for it. Because again, you rent out your house for a week with the cricket going on. You sofa surf at a friend's house, sleeping on a sofa, and you've just made maybe a few $100s.
Yes, exactly. The science of getting rich is Wallace D. Wattles.
I was in the Peace Corps in Poland back in 91, 93. My parents came to visit me. My dad's Slavic, so we went to Prague. This was before Airbnb was there, but a woman who had an apartment downtown rented her apartment to us, and she went back to live with her parents. And we were in the old city of Prague, and it was the most amazing place to be. And now there's Airbnb, but I had never heard of that before, and I'm just like, what a brilliant thing to do.
Yeah, imagine if you jumped on the Airbnb bandwagon and made your own app.
Well, a very good friend of mine, she has have you ever been to Edinburgh,
Yes.
Scotland?
Yes.
She has a house on the Royal Mile. That's what she does. And during the summer, she rents out her apartment. It opens her apartment opens up into it's a very beautiful grassy Royal Mile, and she's just like, it pays for my mortgage for the whole year. And I'm like, why not go home? And her parents live in Fife, about a half hour away, and she commutes back and forth during the summer.
So yeah. So I mean, I've heard this happen. I've heard this from other entrepreneurs too, where they live in places like Puerto Rico or Bahamas, and when they go on trips, like they're going for 6 weeks to Europe, or they're going up to the States, to the US to visit family, or Canada or somewhere else, they rent out their homes for that period of time, and they don't. Isn't a massive rentals. And they said in that period of time, they make back enough money to pay like half their year's mortgage, because people are coming in using their houses. They're living in these beautiful places. They love the accessibility of it. So that's another option. And I know one of the things we worry about in Trinidad and Tobago is if these people come in, they're going to destroy my stuff. The majority of people are friendly. They don't want to destroy your stuff. And there's ways to alleviate that also.
Right. I mean, one of the things, one of my friends does is he has a, what do you call it? A camera when someone enters, and he says, hey, thank you he watches the camera. And when they first enter, just to say, like, Big Brother's watching them. It's not in the house, but they know that there's something there. But, I don't know about in other countries, but a lot of people here who get older and either have to go live with grown adults or go into assisted living don't want to sell their house, because they'd have to pay a lot of taxes on it. You could make an agreement with them to rent the house out, and it helps pay for their care in assisted living or at home and things like that. There's so much you can do in real estate that helps so many people.
So here's another strategy we just got from Sally. Oh my gosh, Sally, you're just dropping value bombs like crazy. Go find some elderly people who have their homes. They probably have to move out. They're going into family. You can even talk to the families, make an arrangement with them, and then rent their homes as Airbnb. You don't have to buy the home, but if you're sharing the profits, I am sure, I can guarantee you that person will be happy to accept that money and say, hey, thank you for this. We're happy we were struggling, we're wondering what we're going to do about it. And once you can say, hey, you know what? I'm saying that I will take care of your property. And here's the thing. This is true in the US as it is true in Trinidad and Tobago. There are cleaning companies who will come in and do a thorough cleaning job
Yes.
after everybody leaves. And because you're renting that house and that extra money is there, you could pay them to do it. And now you have a relationship with a cleaning company that makes sure that your properties are taken care of. And you don't have to have a dozen properties. You can have 2 or 3 and generating enough income every year, enough extra income as a side hustle to really take that vacation you want, to really take that time off from work. You're going through the menopause changes. You're getting overwhelmed. You're feeling this, this complete pressure in yourself. You want to take a break, but you don't have the extra cash to do it. You don't have the opportunity to hop on a plane and go to Tobago and spend the weekend. Here's an easy way to do it. Here's a way that you can do it throughout the year. You can get your other family involved to make sure everybody's on the same page. And instead of going on Airbnb, you generate that same income right in your space. And honestly, with social media today, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, you get somebody to create a few videos, or you can do them yourselves. Everybody has a nice phone. with great cameras, a few good quality videos. It doesn't even have to be spectacular, it doesn't have to be perfect. And you post those out there and people will call you up. You set your agreements, you get a lawyer involved. Set your agreements. When a person moves in, you have the cameras set up. You say, hey, Big Brother's watching, right? And that's
Exactly.
it.
My three seller financing houses, I use Facebook Marketplace, just saying I'm going to have an open house to do seller financing. And my first one, I had 5 people show up. My third one, I had about 15 people show up in a 3-hour window. And the down payment, instead of being 20,000, became 40,000. And it's going to go off of what they owe in 2 years when they have to get their own loan. But I made an extra $20,000 because I like you said, I advertised it on social media and I had all these people show up.
And to go into a little bit more about what Facebook Marketplace is, you pay a small fee and it reaches a certain area. And the more you pay is the bigger the area. So you can reach a 25-mile radius or 25-kilometer radius
Correct.
easily for less than $5 US, which is for us in Trinidad,
Exactly.
less than
I do
$30.
the zip code the house is in, and then 2 zip codes on either side, and it was worth it. I mean, to have all these people show up and get into a bidding war, because I knew what the price of the house was, and then the bidding war of who wanted to be in it. And I'm like, will you ever figure it out? I'm sitting here at the kitchen table. Let me know. So
Yeah, and I honestly I remember when me and my wife and everybody's thinking here, what does it have to do with menopause? What does it have to do with midlife change? This has to do with midlife changes because some of you are going into retirement, some of you are looking for the extra cash. Just today, me and Maria were sitting down talking about this company and what we're doing, and you're talking about how the inflation process is going on. How many people in Trinidad, in the US, I know all over the world is feeling that crunch of your grocery bill being bigger than your salary. Right? And
correct.
you're feeling yeah,
Making extra money just to make life a little bit easier. When you have more
yes,
money, you have options.
right, exactly. And you're thinking, but what does it have to do with the midlife change? This is a simple strategy. See, real estate doesn't have to be you buying a whole bunch of houses to sell them back and having to deal with the banks or anything like that. Simple things. Finding somebody who has an empty home and saying, can I rent it as an Airbnb? I will take care of it for you. You share half the profits, I share half the profits, or whatever or whatever percentage you want to use, right? Once you're making sure that everybody's taken care of, it's a win-win-win for everybody. It's a win for you, win for the person who owns the house, and a win for that person who wants to visit and don't pay hotel prices. And honestly, Trinidad and Tobago is a paradise.
Oh,
So
I'm a
imagine,
scuba diver. I've been there twice already. So you guys could rent any house and scuba divers. The
yeah,
only thing you have to worry about scuba divers, their stuff stinks. When you come out of the ocean, things stink.
yes,
Oh, is
sir.
it a
Yes,
dog
I
or a
have one.
cat?
That's my daughter, the child.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
How old is she?
She is 4 years old, and it's time for bed.
Oh,
So, so I hope that everybody here is getting sitting down, taking notes. I mean, some of the ideas that are brought up here, I need to sit down and think about these also. I'm hoping Maria is thinking the same thing. And there's lots of opportunities to use real estate to really build up your portfolio, get extra cash in there. And it doesn't require you working 52 weeks a year. It can require just one weekend. And then you make,
one
yeah,
weekend, and my seller financing houses, I mean, literally 4 hours, got somebody in there. They're taking over if the hot water heater blows up, that's their problem. If if a tree falls on the house, because they're the ones who are going to buy the house. And I'm a lazy investor. I don't want any tenants, toilets, or termites. I purposely set things up so I don't have to worry about things like that.
yeah, and if you're dealing with another person, like say you create a partnership with somebody, and you say you're going to take care of their house, as part of that investment, you make that agreement that's saying, okay, if something goes wrong, this is your responsibility. You take care of the plumbing, you take care of this. But if it's something that gets damaged in the house, like the furniture and so on, you take that responsibility. So that way, the maintenance of the house is kept, and you are taking care of their property, and everybody's happy. So I mean, there's some excellent possibilities here in terms of opportunities for investments and opportunities for growth. And you could tell, as Sally, I can't say how much you've shared with us in just this little conversation. I wasn't expecting it to go this way. I don't know if Maria feels the same way, But I just got excited about real estate. I mean, I'm always thinking, how can we
I'm glad.
leverage real
I love
estate?
real estate. I hope I gave some people some inspiration, some hope, because there's so much you can do in the world wherever you are.
Yeah, and I know in Trinidad and Tobago, a lot of people are struggling to make ends meet. You're trying to figure out where the next buck is coming from. How can I get something that you can be a lazy investor on and not overwork to try to get it done and make maximum money for little effort and still come out and be able to generate that extra income for yourself, especially with that midlife change when you're trying to expand your family, you want to take them on vacation. All those things, I mean, have
Well, you're in a vacation place. Everyone goes to your place to take the vacation.
exactly. And we seem to forget that sometimes in Trinidad. We live in paradise, right? So I mean, this is an awesome conversation. Thank you so much for this. I'm gonna open the floor to Maria or anybody else who has any questions. I know it's getting kind of late and we're running over a little bit. So
Oh, I was
Sally,
late. I'm so sorry.
no, that's okay. This is the world of technology, and we understand things happen, and that's all right. I'm a big fan of making mistakes and learning from them, so I'm happy you came. So that is the important part. You showed up. So let's open the floor. Maria, anybody here want to ask Ali anything about, her journey in real estate and how investing can work for you? I'll open up the floor for some questions. We have a fairly silent group tonight.
Um, I would say that I'm always looking for new ideas because I myself I have a property I'm working on, and what happened with my husband and myself, we didn't nobody was looking for COVID, right? And we got the property and we started to get things together, we built it, and we wanted to rent to Airbnb, foreign Airbnb. And as we say in Trinidad and Tobago and the West Indies, bam, the COVID came and it just threw off everything. We thought we would have made back that money, but it has left us still struggling, to get things back in gear. We're still trying to fix up the downstairs apartment to get it rented and then try to go forward again. So it has been a very challenging journey. I would like any idea I can get in terms of going forward and not taking out any big loan again in my 50s, because I don't think it would be very lucrative, very helpful for me at this age group, right? To be fighting up with a bank loan and have to work overtime in a place that I really don't want to be, So any tips here?
I'm going to say COVID affected me also. I had 6 notes. On April 1st, 3 of my notes didn't pay me. They're like, hey, if I don't have to pay, Bank of America don't have to pay your mortgage. I'm like, I'm the Bank of Sally. So I understand COVID was an ugly time. Here's something that talking about things. I don't know how much, if you have friends and family in Florida, but the governor of Florida 3 weeks ago announced every single condo in Florida has to pay an extra $60,000 every year to the state of Florida for hurricane insurance. A lot of seniors are going to try to sell their condos or get out of condos, and it's going to be a flooded market. And this is where you could do the agreement where saying, hey, how much is your condo? How much is your mortgage? What if I could rent this out to you? So even if you're on the island, maybe you could do it from afar, because they're saying that there's going to be a huge exodus of seniors out of Florida, and the real estate market is going to crash there.
Wow.
Yeah, and Florida's like Trinidad and Tobago. It's a paradise. People love going there. We know a lot of people in the Caribbean fly through Florida, and they probably overnight sometimes to get to their next flight. So there's an opportunity for them to come in, spend some time, spend like a week. A lot of our Caribbean people go to Florida for shopping and getting
Oh,
some
wow.
goods coming. Yeah, we're constantly in the Caribbean. We're constantly connected with the U.S. New York, Florida are two of the major hubs. So I mean, these are great opportunities. So I mean, yeah, so that's an opportunity. But so it's getting a little bit late and we're going over bedtime. So what I want to say, I want to close off a little bit tonight. So we have three amazing ideas, and I want to recap them what Sally gave us. The first one is connecting with people who are going on vacation, or they're not using their homes, or they're looking to sell, but they're not getting the opportunity to sell, and using it as an Airbnb. Creating a contract with them, you can get a lawyer. For some people, if you can't afford a lawyer, you can go on ChatGPT and ask it to write a basic legal contract, and then get a notary public to review it, which is much cheaper than a lawyer, and give their notary stamp on it. And once they approve it, it is a legally binding document. You can then submit that as a legally binding document. And the second idea was all these older people who are moving into nursing homes, they're going into their family homes. Their homes they don't want to sell their home because they want to pass it on to a son, a daughter, a grandchild, or something like that. Or they've had it for so many years, they don't want to give it up, you know. That's another agreement you can make in Trinidad and Tobago, to turn it into an Airbnb and rent it out to people coming in. No, that home is empty anyway, because that person isn't living there. Sometimes they haven't lived there in years, right? And you're giving them, and then you're creating money for them that's helping them in their retirement. You're helping them with their mortgages. You're helping them, some of them have paid off their mortgages, but the extra cash comes in handy anyway. So that's the second one. And of course, now we find out about Florida. And any of you who own property in Florida, I'm sure you're going to go to look into that. I didn't even know that.
Just announced 3 weeks ago, so people are waiting to see what's going to happen.
Right, and Florida is changing quite a few things. We've seen many, many changes occur from what we see in the news, and Disney was one of the big ones. But if you have, that's an opportunity for you, if you don't have property in Florida, to make that same agreement with people living in Florida. And what Sally's talking about, when the market gets flooded like that, no homes get sold, right? And then you get lower than market value, and it's better if you just burn the house down than sell it sometimes, right? Because and then there's not enough people purchasing. And with this new agreement, a lot less people are going to be purchasing. So if you can get a rental agreement, it says, and let it rent it out to visitors and tourists, and even Caribbean people traveling to Florida who don't want to pay exorbitant fees in hotels, this is an opportunity for you to create an agreement, work with that person, and now everybody's happy again. So three, I mean, I thought it was started by they say she's going to prevent three awesome concepts for us. And then you do. Wow. I have to go on the YouTube channel and change the name of this presentation, and and create a different thumbnail and everything, because what you brought to us, Sally, tonight is something that I think we need to really highlight on YouTube so people can go find it and
Thank you. I
find you.
appreciate that.
So when you look at the
Well, thank
channel
you.
within the next few days, you'll see a few changes happening with your interview. And I share it far and wide. The more you share, the more people like it and listen to it. Is the way we grow the channel, we get to more women. So yes, I'm going to change a few things, because this has been a fascinating discussion. I don't know about anybody here, but it got me super excited about investing in real estate.
Well, thank you for having me, Dr. Z. I appreciate you working with me for being late, and I enjoyed myself. Thank you so much.
And thank you for being here. Maria, you want to close this off for us, and then we'll say good night to everyone.
Thank you for coming, and we learned quite a lot, and I really and truly think we need a little more time to get into some other ideas, so we want to invite you back.
Reach out to me. I can help you with that. I love teaching people the different things on real estate. So please, the ideas I gave to you hopefully can work for you guys. But there's so many different ways to do things.
Yes, there is. And what I'll do on the YouTube channel, as I said, I'm going to change a few things with the thumbnails and name and everything, so it'll be a little bit more explanatory. And I will load all the links that Sally shared with us about how to find her, or social media pages. They're all going to be a YouTube page for you to find Sally and get in touch. And yes, definitely have these conversations. As I said, everyone, We spoke tonight about a Pomodoro and why is it important to take breaks. And Sally shared 3 awesome ways to find investment in the real estate market that you don't have to buy the house. There's other ways you can make this work for you. Sally, it was a pleasure having you on the Healthy Reset. I hope we can have you again where we can explore more ideas. I think we've had a ton of ideas tonight. I think everybody's probably a little overwhelmed and going, where can I start? So I hope they're reaching out to you. So everyone, go find Sally. Thank you
Thank you
for
very
joining
much.
us.
Have
And
a
thank you
beautiful
for staying so
coming.
long. All right. All right. So everyone,
Bye-bye.
have a great evening.
Have a wonderful evening, everybody, and thanks for coming.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Sally.